There's this specific kind of anger that doesn't explode. It simmers. Quiet. Hot. Heavy. It builds up slowly, over time. Through little things that seem harmless at first. Until one day it tips. That's what happened between me and someone I used to consider one of my closest friends. Not over betrayal. Not over gossip or money or some giant falling out. No, our friendship ended over something that sounds small on the surface. But it wasn't small. It was her constant, unapologetic habit of wasting my time. And the moment I finally confronted her about it, the moment I stood up for myself, she shut the door in my face. Now I'm sitting here wondering, was I too harsh? Or was I just done being disrespected? This has been bothering me ever since, and I need to get it off my chest. So here it is. My friend, let's call her Priya, is chronically late. Not fashionably late. Not, oops, traffic late. I'm talking minimum 45 minutes. Sometimes more. Every single time. We've been friends for a few years now, and in that time, I've waited for her at restaurants, bars, movie theaters, train stations, you name it. I've sat around nursing lukewarm coffee, watching the door, checking my phone, trying not to get annoyed. And I'll be honest, I'm not the kind of person who thrives on confrontation. So I'd brush it off. I'd text a friendly, "Are you on your way?" And she'd reply with, "Almost there." Even if she hadn't even left her house yet. Sometimes she'd show up with no explanation. Other times, she'd wave it off with something like, "Time got away from me," or "My energy was off." She's really into wellness and spiritual stuff. Energy, prana, vibes. And somehow, that always became the reason for her flakiness. If I ever so much as hinted that it bothered me, she'd flip it back on me. Say I was too tense, or that I needed to let go and flow more freely. That's a hard thing to argue with, by the way, being told that your very reaction to something is the problem. So I internalized it. For years. I started showing up to meet her 30 minutes late on purpose, just to avoid being the one waiting. Didn't help. She was still late. But the moment that broke me, the final straw, came right before I was about to leave the country. I was flying to London the next day. I had a million things to do, packing, errands, last-minute work stuff. But I still wanted to see Priya before I left. Just a quick coffee. A little send-off. A chance to catch up before I disappeared across the world for a few weeks. She suggested I meet her at a salon she was going to. Said she had an appointment there, but we could go for coffee after. I said sure. The salon was near my place, so it wasn't a big deal. We agreed on 2:30. I texted her while leaving my house. "Did you get parking?" She replied, "Actually, can we do 3? Okay. Not great, but whatever." I adjusted. 3 o'clock comes around. I check in again. Now she says, "Make it 4. I stared at my phone and just felt this shift inside me. Like something unhooked. Not dramatic. Not explosive. Just this quiet, exhausted realization that I'd had enough. It wasn't just the hour-long delay. It was the pattern. The way she always waited for me to follow up. The way she never took initiative to give a heads up. The way she never even pretended to respect my time. So I called her. I didn't yell. I didn't snap. But I told her clearly, calmly, that this wasn't okay. I reminded her that I was flying out the next day. That I had a packed schedule. That I carved out time specifically to see her. And she couldn't even be bothered to let me know when she was running late. I had to chase her for updates. I told her that's not what respect looks like. That if she knew she was going to be late, she should have told me. Not waited for me to ask. Not expected me to just guess. She said, "I have a schedule that keeps me on my toes. Things change." I said, "We all have lives, Priya. We all have jobs and responsibilities. But we make time for people we care about. And when we do, we at least try to communicate." She sighed and said, "You come off too strong sometimes. It's your energy." Maybe we should stop talking for a while." And just like that, she turned it around. Suddenly, it wasn't about her being hours late. It was about my energy. That was when I finally snapped. I told her that this was exactly the problem. That every time she gets called out, she hides behind that language. Energy, vibes, prana, like it's a shield from accountability. She never says sorry. Never takes ownership. It's always about how I'm too intense or not chill enough. But the truth is, she just doesn't like being called out. I wasn't being aggressive. I was being honest. And somehow, that made me the problem. That was our last conversation. She unfollowed me on Instagram the same night. Quietly. No message. Just gone. And now, we don't speak. What makes it worse? This wasn't the first time I'd tried to bring it up. I'd mentioned it gently in the past. "Hey, I waited a while today," or maybe next time we aim for a tighter schedule. Every time, she brushed it off. Sometimes she'd even joke about it. "You know how I am. But please be on time, okay?" Like it was a cute little thing that I had to adjust to her, but she'd never adjust for me. I can't help but think, how many times did I bite my tongue? How many times did I wait silently in cafes, watching her show up late with a smile like nothing was wrong? So yeah, I finally said something. And yeah, it ended the friendship. But now I keep asking myself, was I wrong? Was I too strong, too direct, too blunt? Or did I just stop letting myself be treated like I didn't matter? I don't hate her. I really don't. I still remember the good times. The late night talks. The inside jokes. The way she used to make me laugh when I needed it most. But I also remember how small I felt every time she made me wait. Every time she turned my feelings into a joke. Every time I tried to talk to her and she said, "It's just your energy." Maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut and paid the emotional tax of her friendship for a little longer. But the truth is, I was tired. Tired of pretending I was okay with it. Tired of trying to center my prana just to excuse being disrespected. Sometimes it's not about being too intense. Sometimes it's just about being done. So tell me, was I the asshole? Let me know in the comments. Would you have said something? Or just kept the peace and stayed quiet? If you've ever had a friend like this, someone who constantly crosses your boundaries and then says you're the problem, I'd love to hear how you handled it. And if you're into real stories like this, ones that get under your skin and make you question yourself, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More confessions coming soon. Thanks for listening. And if you're always the one waiting around for other people, maybe it's time to stop.
You ever find yourself in a situation where everyone's looking at you like you're the crazy one, and deep down you're just sitting there thinking, wait, how am I the problem here? That was me. Pregnant, exhausted, and stuck at a bachelorette party surrounded by vodka bottles, glitter, and judgmental side eyes. All because I didn't want to pay for alcohol I never drank. Me explain. My friend was getting married, and a few of us decided to throw her a surprise bachelorette weekend. We rented this gorgeous Airbnb by the lake. It had everything: big living room, lake views, a fire pit, and a hot tub, which, by the way, cost an extra 500 zloty to use. Not cheap, but we were splitting it evenly between the group, and the bride wouldn't pay a thing. It was her celebration after all. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. Obviously, that meant no drinking, and no hot tub either. But I didn't complain. I wanted to be there. I wanted to celebrate her. So I said yes to everything. Paid my share, helped plan, even volunteered to cook one of the meals for the weekend. We divided the responsibilities. Everyone would prepare a meal, we'd bring snacks, decorations, and drinks, and just enjoy the weekend. All the groceries and party stuff were bought in advance, including a lot of alcohol. Like a lot. Vodka, Prosecco, flavored shots, fancy mixers. All bought on one big receipt so it'd be easier to split later. I didn't say anything about it at the time. I figured they all knew I was pregnant. I figured they'd just naturally exclude the alcohol from my portion. I even brought my own alcohol-free wine to join in for toasts and feel included. Fast forward to the weekend. Everyone's having a blast. Drinking, dancing, laughing. I joined in as much as I could. Played games, helped decorate, cleaned up, cooked breakfast one morning. And even though I couldn't use the hot tub, I didn't say a word. I wasn't bitter. I honestly had a great time. But when Sunday rolled around and we were cleaning up, one of the girls pulled out the receipt to settle up. She divided the total cost by the number of us, excluding the bride, of course, and read off how much each of us owed. That's when I said, "Hey, just a heads up, I'm going to pay for everything except the alcohol portion. Since I didn't drink, I'll just cover my share of the house, the food, the decorations, and all that." The room went quiet. Then one of the girls, let's call her Kasia, looked up and said, "Wait, why wouldn't you pay for the alcohol?" I explained, "I didn't drink any of it, and I brought my own non-alcoholic wine. I just don't think it makes sense for me to chip in for something I didn't use. Especially when I've already paid for the hot tub I couldn't get in." Another girl chimed in. "We all agreed to split everything, remember? That was the deal." And I said, "I thought that applied to things we all used, not the alcohol. I mean, I literally can't drink. I've been upfront about that from the beginning." That's when someone else, I won't name names, kind of scoffed and said, "It's just money. Why are you making a big deal out of this?" I didn't even know what to say. I wasn't making a scene. I wasn't raising my voice. I wasn't trying to shortchange anyone. I just didn't think it was fair to pay for something I didn't consume. I already felt like I'd overpaid. For the hot tub, for the fancy champagne, none of which I touched. For the vodka shots, I watched them knock back all night. And now, somehow, I was being called selfish. Another one of them said, "You could have mentioned this earlier. It's awkward to bring it up now." Yeah, I probably could have. But I honestly didn't think it needed to be said. I'm visibly pregnant. I've said multiple times I wouldn't be drinking. I brought my own non-alcoholic wine. Did they really think I was going to chip in for 2 crates of alcohol I never touched? It wasn't about the money. It really wasn't. I could have paid the extra 50 zloty and walked away. But something about it just felt wrong. It was the principle of it. I contributed in every other way. I was part of the group, present for everything, despite being pregnant and exhausted and unable to fully participate. And still, I was expected to split the bill like I'd been just as involved in the drinking. I stood my ground. I told them I'd pay my full share, just excluding the alcohol. They weren't happy about it. The energy in the group shifted. A few girls stopped talking to me for the rest of the cleanup. We drove home in silence. Later that evening, I got a message from one of the girls saying I was inconsiderate. That even though I didn't drink, the alcohol was part of the group celebration and everyone should pay equally for that. That by refusing, I was creating division. I didn't respond. 'Cause honestly, I still don't think I was wrong. If I'd refused to pay for decorations or the house or food, yeah, I'd get the criticism. But alcohol, when I'm pregnant, I just can't wrap my head around it. What bothered me most wasn't the money. It was how quickly they turned on me. How fast the vibe went from friendship and fun to judgment and side eyes. No one had my back. No one said, "Hey, she's right, she didn't drink." Not a single one of them spoke up. They all just stood there, acting like I'd done something rude. Like I was ruining the party, after the party had already ended. Since then, I've been distant from the group. Not out of pettiness. I just feel like I saw a side of them I didn't expect. And I've been wondering, was I the problem? Should I have just paid the alcohol split and moved on? Should I have said something earlier? Or was it reasonable, normal even, to expect I wouldn't be included in that part of the bill? To this day, I still feel weird about it. I still replay that moment, that silence, those looks. And I still ask myself, was I really the one out of line? So now I'm putting it to you. Am I the asshole? Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you have paid the alcohol split to keep the peace? Or do you think I was right to draw the line where I did? If you've ever been in a situation like this, sober at a party or just felt pressured to pay for something you didn't use, I want to hear about it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more real-life stories, Reddit confessions, and personal dilemmas that make you question everything. Thanks for listening. And if you're planning a party, maybe double-check the receipts before you pour the shots. See you in the next one.
You ever make a decision at work that felt completely reasonable, only for the fallout to spiral into something way bigger than you expected? That's what happened to me. I called a tow truck on a car that wasn't supposed to be parked in our lot. That's it. That's all I did. I followed the posted rules. I checked in with my boss. I made sure I wasn't overstepping. But apparently, I messed up someone's universe. Because what started as a simple enforcement of parking signs turned into a shouting match, a phone call to my boyfriend, and a complete social circus. And now, I keep hearing through the grapevine that I was out of line. So here I am, asking, was I really the asshole for towing that car? Or did everyone just lose their minds around me? Let me start from the beginning. I work at this small shop in a downtown plaza. It's nothing huge, just a cozy spot that gets a lot of foot traffic, especially during busy nights. And like a lot of city shops, parking is a total nightmare. We only have 3 parking spots. Just 3. Right in front of our store, marked clearly with signs that say, "Parking for shop customers only." Unauthorized vehicles will be towed at owner's expense. They're not just decorative signs either. We've had to tow before. It's not our favorite thing to do, but when we've got paying customers circling the block for a spot, and someone's luxury car is just chilling in our lot with no intention of coming in, we'll make the call. So this one night, we're gearing up for what's clearly going to be a busy shift. People are already coming in, the shop is getting loud, and I'm trying to stay ahead of the rush. That's when I notice a sleek, expensive-looking BMW parked in one of our 3 precious spots. Now, normally if I see someone pull in and then come into the shop, no problem. That's what the space is for. But I waited a few minutes, watched the door, watched the parking lot, nothing. No one walked in. So I did what I've done before. I checked with the neighboring shops. There are 2 businesses next to us. Let's call them Shop A and Shop B. I walk over to Shop A. I say, "Hey, just checking. Is that BMW one of your customers?" They say no. Then I go to Shop B. Same question. And the owner says almost smugly, No. My customers know where to park." That felt a little passive-aggressive, but whatever. I take him at his word. So now I've confirmed that the car isn't with either of our neighbors. I text my general manager and let him know what's up. I say we've got a non-customer in one of our spots, and I ask if I should call the tow company. He gives me the green light. I call the tow company. They're not always quick, so I get back to work. 15, maybe 20 minutes later, the truck pulls up. The driver starts getting ready to hook up the car. And that's when the chaos begins. Suddenly, people from Shop A are coming outside, talking to the tow driver, trying to figure out what's going on. The shop owner gets on their PA system and announces over the speakers, "If anyone has a black BMW parked in the lot, please come forward." Still, no one shows up. The tow truck driver shrugs, finishes the job, and hauls the car away. Crisis averted. Or so I thought. About 2 hours later, things are winding down, and the owner of shop becomes storming into my store. He doesn't ask, "Hey, did you see what happened earlier?" He doesn't say, "There was some confusion, let's talk." Nope. He goes straight to, "Did you call the tow truck on my customer?" I say, "Yes, I did." And just like that, he turns around and storms out. Next thing I know, he's on the phone with my boss. Not just my general manager, but the owner of the shop, who also owns the property. He's never on site. But now, suddenly, he cares very much. And he's furious. He calls me up, yelling into the phone like I've committed some kind of corporate crime. "Did you call the tow truck?" he keeps asking. Over and over, same question. Not even giving me space to answer. I finally say, "Yes, I did. I checked with the other businesses." I confirmed they weren't the car owner. I got the go-ahead from the general manager. I followed protocol. His tone changes a little then, not apologetic, but at least calmer. Still, I can tell he's annoyed. Not because I did something wrong, but because the owner of Shop B is now mad at him. Apparently, that's more important than the fact that our customers couldn't park. I keep trying to explain, but the damage is done. Then, because this story just keeps getting worse, I find out later that Shop B's owner called a mutual friend of ours. Someone who had nothing to do with the situation. Not an employee, not a customer, just a social friend in our circle. And he didn't just call to vent, he called to gossip. Telling this guy that I screwed up, that I towed someone's car without thinking, and basically dragging my name through the mud. So now this random friend, and I'm using that word very lightly at this point, calls my boyfriend. Not me, not my GM, not even my boss. He calls my boyfriend, and proceeds to call him an asshole for towing someone's car. My boyfriend, bless him, calmly tells him she was just doing her job. And the guy hangs up, but he's not done. He starts calling me multiple times, sending messages, still accusing me of being an asshole for what happened. I just ignored it. I was honestly in shock. Like, how did this turn into this? A car got towed because it was parked in a space clearly marked for customers. No one came forward. No one walked into my store. I did my due diligence. I even checked with the other shops, and Shop B denied it was their customer. What more could I have done? Was I supposed to walk around the block asking every pedestrian if they owned a BMW? Or was I supposed to just let it sit there all night while actual paying customers struggled to find parking? I was just doing my job. That's what this all comes down to. I wasn't on some power trip. I didn't act on impulse. I followed procedure. I notified management. I waited. I asked. I got the green light. And still, somehow, I ended up being the villain in someone else's drama. Now I've got a shop owner down the hall who won't talk to me. A boss who yelled at me over the phone before hearing the full story. A mutual friend I no longer trust. And a situation I didn't even create, just tried to manage. So now I'm here, putting it out to the universe. Was I wrong? Was I too quick to act? Should I have done more to find the owner? Or did I just get caught in a crossfire of someone else's mistake? Because I'll be honest, the more I think about it, the more it feels like this wasn't about the tow at all. It was about embarrassment. Shop B's customer got their car towed, and instead of admitting they parked somewhere they shouldn't have, the blame had to fall on me. Because admitting fault is harder than deflecting blame. Especially when there's a convenient target, the girl at the front of the store just trying to do her job. So yeah, that's what happened. A BMW, a tow truck, and a whole lot of misplaced outrage. So I ask again, AITA?